Tonight we're going to go through Drypoint. It's kind of an extra demo. It's sort of the opposite of relief printing. Just because.
Not that we don't.
Just one more thing to think about. So, so it's closer to drawing. Whatever you scratch onto your plate is what's going to print. So with like relief printing, whatever you carve away is going to be white or it won't print. This is going the opposite. So it's closer to drawing, like drawing with a pencil on paper. Make a line on the paper, that's your mark. So,
What kind of paper would you use for this?
we're going to use the cotton rag paper,
Okay.
BFK or Somerset. You could get away with using this cardstock too.
Oh.
Yeah. So with Drypoint, you're using line work, so like cross hatching, workman pattern. It's part of a larger group of printmaking called intaglio. So that includes things like etching, engraving, mezzotint, collograph. There's a couple others I'm missing, but
They look like drums.
yeah,
Could we pass them around? I just want to see
for
the
sure.
like the small detail.
Yep,
Is that
I'll pass it around.
Do you have
Here.
to buy something for this, like, or is it?
No, everything is here.
And what kind of pencil or pen or what would you use?
So we're not going to use pencil or pen. So we're going to be working with little plates instead of lino or wood or Sintra. So I've got little pieces of aluminum.
So you carve into it.
Yep.
You carve into that?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So these would have been done on a plate?
Yep.
Not that size, obviously, but.
No.
Bigger. Yeah. So I have some aluminum plates and I have some copper.
Is that yours?
That one's mine. Sorry, that's relief printing. Just
Oh,
ignore that
okay.
one. I just got cotton clouds.
I think they all are.
Yeah, the rest of them, yeah, they're all hard.
Oh yeah, that one came from you. Yes. Yeah, I'm good. You saw this one already, or this one's going? Yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to be using plates. I have aluminum here tonight. I also got a little bit of copper. Copper's really nice to work with, but it's really expensive. But I have a scrap piece I found, so I cut them up. We're using really small plates because we're going to be using this small little press to do the printing. So with intaglio printing, generally you need more pressure. So a press will help with that. Having said that, you can't do dry points this small by hand. You just have to really rub it back to the paper. So this press has been 3D printed.
Oh.
I think it's a pair of artists from Germany. They started something called the 3D print project, or 3D press project, pardon me. So the idea is trying to supply printmakers with presses that are cheap and easy to make. Generally presses are bigger, but even the small ones are quite expensive. They're kind of hard to find all the pieces to build. So this is, you can go online, buy the plans, and you can print them yourself, or they sell them as well. So
My husband says, you know, you have a motorcycle jack in our thing. You just have to figure out how to do this. That's easier. He has a 3D printer.
yeah, so that could be something. little quirky.
What would the difference in cost be between a 3D printed one and a?
Quite a bit. I can't give you exact prices, but yeah, quite a bit cheaper. This is Dawn Rugel. I don't know if you know her. She had a show here with tomatoes a few months ago, maybe a year ago now. She works with miniatures, all things miniature, so she donated this press to me because she got a bigger press.
Oh, that's awesome.
So using that, using the metal. So we have aluminum and copper. You could also use plexiglass if you don't have metal available. I don't have any plexiglass tonight, so we'll just use the metal. I've also just watched a video where the people use old cards, like gift cards, and scratch into that.
Oh, amazing.
Trying that. It's my health card, but that's okay. Also, Tetra Packs, so like juice boxes. If you cut them open and use the inside of it, you can scratch into those as well. So, thanks for this week. Bucket tonight. Plates, I guess. So the work into the plates, we're going to use scribes or etching needles. We have a few different types here. These are more homemade. These ones you can buy. I know the bookstore at the university sells them. I don't know if Hues does. That's Kathleen. You can go to places like Home Depot or Princess Auto and get like mechanic scribes for marking metal. Those work as well. And I have enough for everyone to use tonight. But basically you work it with it like a pencil. So you can do a rough sketch first with this pencil, kind of shows up on the metal. It's not bad. Or a pen or marker. If you don't like the noise of metal against metal, then this is going to be terrible. I had one student, she could handle it. In the class of like 30 students, like all scratching at the same time. So. Basically, you just want to scratch into your plate. It's hard to see from here, probably. So you can control the lightness and darkness of the line by how much you press into the metal. So the more force you use, the deeper the line is, and the more ink it's going to hold. And vice versa. If you go very light, you get lighter lines. And they'll have kind of a rough surface to them. It's a characteristic of Drypoint. When you scratch into the metal, you're not really removing that much metal. You're forcing the metal on either side of the line to kind of move away. So it creates kind of a burr. And that burr creates a rough kind of a line. That's a characteristic of Drypoint. And depending on your drawing, you can only do so many impressions. So if you're doing a really fine, light drawing, you might only get 5 prints before it starts wearing out, just because of pressure. So keep that in mind. You can try different things though. Anything that will scratch into the metal or whatever material you're using for the plate will work. So you can use a rough sandpaper, create a bunch of fine lines all at once. You can try different tools. You can grab a hammer and a nail and kind of bang into it. But so whatever you can do. Aluminum and copper and plexiglass are pretty soft, so you can use a scratch into it. So for printing, we're going to use the good cotton rag paper. I got little tiny sheets. You've been through a little press.
Tiny press.
And you want to print with damp paper. So just like when machine clayed, when we wet the paper, when we're doing it. I'm just going to spray it and cover it with a garbage bag, let it soak in while I continue on. So for ink, we're going to use a different type of ink. We're going to use Hues ink, also by Speedball, because they've kind of cornered the market for printing ink. It is water-based, so it's a soy-based ink that washes with water. It works fairly well. You can also get an oil-based ink. Traditionally, oil-based inks have been used for printing Drypoint and intaglio prints. But we're going to use this. It's really easy to work with, and it's easy to clean up too. If mine's really loose, wear gloves because you'll get it everywhere pretty quick. So to apply the ink onto the plate, we're not going to use a roller or a brayer. We're going to use a little piece of mat board and card on the ink.
Is that what you do with the big piece too? With this little piece?
Yep. Just going to dip it in here. And you want to kind of, so you want to card it on, it's easier on the table, but you want to fill the lines that you've made with your scribe. You want to cover your entire plate. So you can use the other side of the card to kind of wipe off some excess. Side. And then we're going to wipe it. So after you card on the ink, what we're going to do is wipe your plate to remove the ink that's on the surface of the plate, but keep the ink that's in the lines. So it's very different from really printing. So I'm using something called tarlatan. It's basically cheesecloth with starch in it.
Oh, wow. You make your own?
I suppose you could. You can get from art supply store. They're quite expensive for what it is. Some people use tulle, you know, we use for wedding dresses, and that works really well too. Different places will use different materials.
Yeah.
In Japan, they use silk. But I have enough tarlatan for everyone, so it's all good. So you kind of ball up your tarlatan, and then you wipe your plate. So, again, kind of hard to say from over there, but. So just like relief printing, your image is going to flip. It's going to be a mirror. So if you're writing text, it has to be mirrored. Just keep that in mind. So you want to keep on going until most of the ink is removed on your plate, except for the line. And then you want to finish off with some Hues print and do kind of a final wipe. To get rid of any smudges, white marks. So I find it takes more finesse, a little more time than rolling up a block. You can overwipe or underwipe, so it takes a little bit of practice. I usually find even when you finish, you should still have a little bit coming off your Hues print. If your Hues print's completely clean, you probably overwiped. Good rule of thumb. So
would you have to ink for each print?
every time you have to ink up your plate. Yeah.
Okay.
What did you say about just getting 5? That's just,
Like
that's
an
like
additional
5
5.
separate inkings
Yeah.
and prints, and then
And then it
still.
loses a bit of.
They'll start
Your
losing some
further
detail
drawing.
potentially, depending on your drawing or what's on your plate. So.
That's a lot of work for this one.
Yep.
In my opinion.
All right. So take those off. So with your paper, once it's soaked for a few minutes, you want to blot it with some newsprint. So you want it damp but not soaking wet. And the reason why we're soaking our paper is it makes it softer and makes it easier to press into the plate. Just fits. So I just put a little piece of newsprint underneath to keep the press bed clean as much as I can. Paper goes on top. And then we have this little piece of felt that goes on top. So it'll help deliver pressure onto the plate. So it fits into here, this handle turns. There it is. It's a little quirky, but I find the print's okay. So big man, tiny press. And that's Drypoint. So after this, I can go back and put more ink on my plate and then print it again.
What happens if you just use a press with the straight down force versus?
I've never tried those ones for Drypoint, so maybe we can try that tonight. I don't know if it'll deliver enough pressure, because you do need quite a bit more pressure for this kind of plate. Because you're trying to force that ink from those lines you made, just not on the surface. But I have seen people, this gets a little finicky, so they'll just put the paper down and just run the back of the paper really hard, and it works really well too. Especially for something that's small. So that's Drypoint.